My name is Hazel Gallardo from Bsed Section 1. For today's video, I'm going to report about linguistic borrowing. So let's start! In linguistic borrowing, also known as lexical borrowing, is the process by which a word from one language is adapted for use in another. The word that is borrowed is called a borrowing. A borrowed word or a loan word. By the way, the meaning of loan word is word adapted by the speaker of one language from a different language. The English language has been described by David Crystal as an insatiable borrower. More than 120 other languages have served as source for the contemporary vocabulary of English. Present day, English is also a major donor language, the leading source of borrowing for many other languages. So let's proceed in example and observation. English has freely appropriated major parts of its vocabulary from Greek, Latin, French, and dozens of other languages. Even though the official's automobile functions theoretically consist entirely of borrowed words, with the single exception of it is uniquely an English sentence. The problem with defending the purity of the English language is that English is about as pure as a crib house word. We don't just borrow words on occasion. English has pursued other languages down alleyways to beat them unconscious and refill their pockets for new vocabulary. Next, about exploration and borrowing. The vocabulary of English based on exploration and trade was often brought to England in spoken form or in popular printed books and pamphlets. An early example is assassin, either of hashish, which appears in English about 1531 as a loan word from Arabic, probably borrowed during the Crusades. Many of other words borrowed from Eastern countries during the Middle Age, where the names of products Arabic lemon, Persian musk, Semitic cinnamon, Chinese salt, and place names like Damascus from Damascus. These were the most direct examples of the axiom that a new referent requires a new word. Next is contemporary borrowing. Today, only about 5% of our new words are taken from other languages. They are especially prevalent in the name of foods: focaccia, salsa, vindaloo, and also ramen. Next, about borrowing from English. English borrowings are entering language everywhere and in more domains than just science and technology. Not surprisingly, the reported reaction of a Paris desk jockey to the French Academy's latest pronouncements against English borrowings was to use an English borrowing to call the pronouncement past tense call, or we should call not very call. Lastly, about reasons for language borrowing. One language may possess words for which there are no equivalents in the other language. There may be words for objects, social, political, and cultural institutions, an event or abstract concepts which are not found in the culture of other language. We can take some example from the English language throughout the ages. English has borrowed words for types of houses. Examples are castle, mansion, tipi, wigwam, eglo, and also bungalow. It has borrowed word for cultural institutions. Example are opera and ballet. It has borrowed word for political concepts. Example are perestroika, glasnost, and apartheid. It often happens that one culture borrows from the language of other cultures' words or phrases to express technological, social, or cultural innovations. That's all about my report, Mom. Thank you for watching and listening again. My name is Izin Megallardo from Bsed Section 1. God bless you!
Good day, everyone. I am Josel Jane Pedrinia Gunida, and I am the reporter for Language Context. In communication and composition, context refers to the words and sentences that surrounds any part of the discourse and helps to determine its meaning. In a broader sense, context may refer to any aspects on an occasion in which a speech act takes place, including both the social setting and the status of both the speaker and the listener. Now, how does the physical and psychological setting in which language is spoken affect what it means to be interpreted? One part of context that we need to understand is the verbal context, which has to do with the words that surround each other in spoken or written discourse. Now, for example, the sentence "I am wearing blue today" provides verbal context that shows that the blue in there is a modifier, which means the color that describes the shirt. Now, on the other hand, the sentence "I am feeling blue today" Now, on the other hand, the sentence "I am feeling blue today" conveys the verbal context to allow the listener to understand that the blue in there refers, in this case, to an emotion. Moving on, another part of context that we need to also understand is the social context. Social context is a setting in which language spoken can have powerful impact on meaning and interpretation even when the verbal context remains constant. For an instance, when your best friend greets you with a smile and says, "What are you up to today?" So in that situation, you understand that your friend is being friendly and just ask you what you are doing today. But when it is your boss who is suspiciously looking at you and ask you what are you up to today, so the verbal context is exactly the same. What are you up to today? But the social context is different because the boss is skeptical on how you are spending your time. He is using this phrase to mean that you should be more productive. Thus, you can see that the same words mean something different in social context. Another topic that I have is the language variation. The concept of language variation is central in social linguistics. The English language varies on individual, regional, national, and global levels. Unfortunately, some people are unaware of social and regional dialects and different varieties of English in the world. Different factors affect how language can be spoken in different countries. They can be regional, ethnic, and social. All these factors are interconnected. They are reflected in every country's varieties and pronunciation, vocabulary, grammatical construction, and syntax. One of the common misunderstandings of speakers of any language is the question of standard and non-standard varieties of language. The latter is often called a dialect, and people who speak it are considered to be inferior to the speaker of the standard variety. It is erroneous to believe that the standard variety is the correct one. Every language has dialects, and no dialect is substandard to other dialects. We all speak a dialect, and all have an accent. All varieties of language are systematic in their use, have a large number of speakers, and thus have the right for existence. The term dialect refers to any variety of language, and from to that point of view of social linguistics, all dialects are equally correct, systematic, logical, and meaningful. Beside all these variations, there are individual variations of language use that are called idiolects. However, people are often unaware of their own dialects and accents, and sometimes they negatively judge those whose ways are different from their own. Often, people who speak non standard dialects are erroneously marked as uneducated, not knowing English, or having a speech pathology. This can lead to discrimination in professional and in educational settings and irreversible personal tragedies.